Good evening and welcome to the Bladensburg Town Council meeting for Monday, November 14th. Thank you to everyone who joined within the Zoom as well as those who are watching on social media. At this time, we're now called to order. And before we start with the opening prayer, I just want to take a point of personal privilege. There's been a couple of tragedies over the past several days. One stemming from a 13-year-old young man who was out raking leaves and was shot, and his family had to make the tough decision to take him off life support over the weekend. And then this morning we heard about, I think it was UVA, the students who were killed last night, again, due to gun violence. And so we'll just ask that after Councilmember McBride prays, if we could just have a moment of silence to just ask for help for those families that were impacted. I just can't imagine what those parents are going through at this time. Councilmember McBride.
Let us pray. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day. We thank you, oh God, for your grace and your mercy. We thank you for your long suffering, your patience, your kindness. God, we ask you tonight to bless this council meeting. Bless every member on this council. Bless our mayor, every worker for the town of Bladensburg and all over the world. God, we ask you to keep us and protect us. We ask you to guide us. We ask you to hold back the hands of the enemy. And God, we ask you to bind the spirit of bitterness, hatred, malice, envy, and strife that's going on in the world today. God, we ask you to bless the families that are bereaved on today. We ask you to touch their hearts in days to come. Oh God, lift up their minds, oh God. We ask you to bless and keep them, oh God. Remember those that have gone on before us, but God, we pray that they now rest, they no longer suffer, God. But God, we hate the point that they had to leave too early before their time. But God, we ask you to bring a stop to all this violence, oh God, in the name of Jesus. God, we ask you to remember us all, keep us safe, keep us covered under your blood, protect us, help us to love one another, help us to show loving kindness to one another, and be forgiving and consider others more so than ourselves. And God, help us to think on others more so than ourselves and not be selfish, oh God. God, we ask you to bless us and ever keep us, keep the town of Bladensburg. God, ever be mindful of this council as we work together. Help us to work together in unity. For Lord, we are working for a better world, a better cause. And God, we ask you to keep us all. In Jesus' name I pray and I ask these blessings. Let's go into a moment of silence. In Jesus' name, amen.
Thank you, Councilmember McBride. At this time, we'll turn the meeting over to Councilmember Rout for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you so much. At this time, I will move forward with the agenda. Item 4 is the approval of the agenda. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Moved by Councilmember Brown. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilmember McBride. Any further comments or questions regarding the agenda? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, let it be known by the saying of aye.
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 Any nays? The ayes have it. Thank you so much. At this time, we have the next section of the agenda, which is appearances. The fire chief for the Bladensburg Volunteer Fire Department was here. I hope he did not get called away for an emergency. Nope, he's there. Good evening, Chief Sumner. As many on
Good evening, ma'am.
Good to see you, sir. As many of you may know, the fire department celebrated their 100-year anniversary back in August, and then they had their fancy banquet where they actually took the uniforms and put them aside and put on real clothes, because guess what, firefighters can wear real clothes. We just wanted to acknowledge publicly and give the council an opportunity to express any sentiments that they had for you, Chief, your leadership, as well as the wonderful job that the firefighters do. And of course, we'll circle back and allow you to say anything, but I want to open it up to the council first for any remarks for Chief Sumner and the department. Councilmember Rout.
Thank you, Mayor James. I would like to first by saying I apologize for not being able to attend the gala. I saw the pictures, but I was like double booked that day for family obligations after I left the Bladensburg waterfront event. But nevertheless, I would like to thank the Bladensburg Volunteer Fire Department for always, just being supportive of all of the town's needs over the last 100 years. 100 years is a long time to be around. And that shows, that in itself just shows how, sophisticated, customer-driven organization can be. And so I just want to thank you all for your service. And Chief Sumner, through the highs and lows, you continue to serve as the chief of the volunteer fire department. We've had some couple rough patches over the last couple of years in COVID and other things. And, we've still, we've had your back. And, I hope you feel it, because our residents truly appreciate all that you all do, both on the fire and the EMS side. So just continued thank you, and I'm looking forward to 100 more years.
Thank you so much, Councilmember Rout. Councilmember Brown.
Thank you, Mayor James. So just real quick, would definitely like to thank the Bladensburg Fire Department for the service, and also thank your families as well for allowing you to serve this wonderful, great town of Bladensburg. Thank you. Ditto what Councilman Rout said.
Yeah, well said to Councilmember Brown. Councilmember Blunt.
I would like to say thank you on behalf of my senior residents that calls you 24/7 for the things that they need. And I really, I only laugh because I'm sure you know what I mean, but I want to say thank you. And I really appreciate the fire department, especially when you don't have to break down a door. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Blunt. Councilmember McBride.
I would like to say thank you to our fire department. I know Parkview, we have to call the fire department a lot. And I thank you for your patience, the time you come out, and all the help that you are to this building, and to this neighborhood as well. Thank you very much for all your service.
Thank you for those remarks. Opening up to the staff, actually, before we turn it over to Chief Sumner. Anyone else?
I'll speak. I'll say something. Good afternoon, Mayor, Council, colleagues, and community. I would like to first say thank you to our fire department, Chief Sumner, his leadership, just the commitment that he has and his team has for this whole town. People sometimes take things for granted, but to see someone run into a fire that's like 1,800 degrees in Fahrenheit, to get in there and save, I mean, when others are running this way, the fire department, the firefighters are running towards them. And just to have that courage and that bravery to do that job in itself. And I just want to commend the fire department. We are fortunate to have our fire department right here in the community that know our community and know, like as Ms. Blunt and Ms. McBride said, they know the seniors here because they go there so much. So they get to build a relationship with them. So I just want to commend them for 100 years of service. And I'm glad to have Chief Sumner as a partner of mine.
Yes.
Thank you so much for those words, Chief. I don't see any other hands from staff, so I'm going to jump in unless Sean, were you leaning in to unmute?
Dave, I just want to say it's been an honor and a privilege to know you for as long as I have, to be friends as long as we have, and to be the little snot-nosed kids that grew up in the fire department there. So I'm very proud to say I'm a member there. I'm very proud to say I'm your friend. I'm very proud to say we made it 100 years and look to do several hundred more.
Good.
Thank you for that, Mr. Reinhardt. And don't see anyone else.
I could just say, I mean,
go for it.
As Chief Summer always says, that they are 100% volunteer. I mean, that's the key. So, and we're fortunate enough that, you know, to have them right next door, the town hall. We see all their good work every day going in and out, obviously. But, you know, we're always there for support, and they're always there to help out as well. So it's great we have that relationship. So.
Thank you, Mr. Tonelli. So now that everybody's gone, I believe I can just say ditto to what everybody else just said, Chief. You guys know I think the world of you, and I'm so grateful for the dedication and service and the fact that you don't just come and put a fire out and leave, but you stay, you make sure that if a family's displaced, that they're getting the resources, whether it's from OEM or whomever, to make sure that we're helping them through those crises. I'm thinking about the townhome fire and how it took so much time to get that fire out, but even hours after, I think we were there till 1 or 2 in the morning. We would not leave, you guys would not leave, more importantly, until everyone had accommodations, until we fed them, made sure that they were gonna be okay. And you know, some people, they show up and they just do the job, but you guys show up and you do it with compassion, professionalism, with dedication and diligence every single time. And so we appreciate you doing that job, but also taking it a step further and truly being a partner to the town. I know it has not always been the case. There's been, you know, some of these butting of heads over the years. And I would say I'm so grateful for your leadership, President Katz's leadership, because you've really gone out of your way to work with the town, to collaborate, to support us, offer training space when we need it, collaborate on professional training, show up and give our kids candy on Halloween. I mean, you guys, there's no limit to what you'll do. And we're so grateful for you. Happy belated birthday to Miles. We can't leave him out of this too, the station dog, who is one of our heroes as well. But anything you would like to say, Chief Sumner?
Real quick, thank you guys. Really appreciate all the comments and the feedback. And I apologize for my uniform. I literally just got to my mom's house from work, so I'm wearing the police uniform, not the fire department uniform. As I've been told before, a man of many parts. The guys absolutely love the town. We get new people in. One of the things that they're told is that we are a very community-oriented fire department. And we have been so since I took over as being chief. I grew up in Bladensburg. I grew up on 57th Avenue at Capitol View. I graduated from Bladensburg High School, the original Bladensburg, not that new one. Not a fan of the new school. So I hold the town true and dear to my heart. And working with you, Mayor, and the council, and with Chief Collington, we became great partners, great teammates. And I think the relationship now is stronger than it's been in the last 20 years. And I think we can continue building on that and continue striving for greatness in the future.
Great, thank you so much, Chief. So here's to another 100 years, 100 plus, but we won't be here to see it. So thank you for building a strong foundation to just make sure that it will be able to be sustainable. So again, thank you. Thank you for joining us tonight. You're welcome to stay on, but if you're at Mama's, I think you better go.
Yeah, I had to come to Mom's for dinner tonight, so I was in the middle of eating. I was like, I go to a meeting, Mom. She's like, you better get back up here.
Well, if you're gonna stand us up, at least it's Mama. So with that, please wish her a good evening from the town, and thank you again so much for all that you and the team do for us.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Great. And the next item, Mr. Jeffries, I apologize. He did ask if we could table the discussion that he had on for item B until December. So we'll keep moving forward. The next item is the approval of the regular meeting minutes. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Moved by Councilmember Rout. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilmember Brown. Any corrections or discussion on the minutes? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, let it be known by the saying of aye.
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 Any nays? The ayes have it. Thank you so much. At this time, we'll turn it over to Mr. Charnovich. I believe there are public comments to be read into the record, or is that being designated to someone else, Mr. Charnovich?
Thank you, Mayor. I can handle that. And for some reason, real quickly, my video won't turn on. It says the host needs to enable me to do that. So Mr. Gray, if you hear me and you can help me, please enable that. And if not, I don't think anybody wants to see my mug anyway. So you can just hear my voice instead.
That is not true. We would like to see you while you're on the meeting.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Gray. There we go. Appreciate it, Rick. Thank you. All right, so I have two public comments to read into the record this evening. Here's the first comment from Brendan Hagenbook, Bladensburg resident. Members of the town council and community, developers are proposing to build a new parking lot at 4205 Kenilworth Avenue across from the town hall. The parking lot would have entrances on both Kenilworth Avenue and Edmonston Road, where it would create a new four-way intersection at Upshur Street and Edmonston Road. This new four-way intersection could create dangerous situations for pedestrians and the community. There are no sidewalks on Upshur Street, and children frequently walk in the street there next to the park and town hall. Drivers could use the parking lot as a shortcut from Kenilworth Avenue to Edmonston Road, creating even more hazards and bringing additional traffic onto the residential streets of Edmonston and Upshur. I urge the town council and community members to express their concerns to the county planning board and staff in order to prevent this potentially dangerous new intersection from being created. The PG County Planning application number is PPS 2022008. Thank you, Brendan Hagenbook. And our second public comment this evening, let me grab some water. And it's from
we were empathizing with you, Mr. Charnovich. We all took a sip.
I noticed it. Toast our waters. Our second public comment this evening is from Steve White's town resident. Mayor and town council members, at the October 10th town council meeting, you discussed 5G tower locations. I Googled 5G tower locations and see a number 3 5G tower location in the front yard of a neighbor across the street from my house on the 5400 block of Tilden Road. Please see the address, my questions below at the November 14th town council meeting. Thank you. And then Mr. Weiss poses a series of questions in his public comment. There's a list of 10 that I can try to read through in a 3-minute period. Number 1, what does number 3 location mean for a 5G tower? Number 2, are they proposing to put a 5G tower in a resident's front yard or on Tilden Road sidewalk? Tilden Road is a very busy street with many pedestrians and school children every day. There are already several car crashes on this street. Consider property values of a cell tower in your front yard. Not a good location. Number 3, what are the EMF health standard implications here? Number 4, this proposed 5G tower location in the 5400 block of Tilden Road is at the bottom of 2 big hills and is surrounded by trees, which would block antenna transmission. I would think they could find a better location instead of a homeowner's front yard, like an empty land area or open space in the Blady Park area or the Bladensburg High School open spaces. There are many open unused land areas in Bladensburg that would be much better than in someone's front yard. Will the 5G tower antenna signals on a telephone pole interfere with existing internet cables and household cordless landline telephones, etc.? How big are these 5G tower antennas, and how many antennas will be mounted on each tower? Will the 5G tower antennas be mounted on existing telephone poles or on new towers? The existing telephone poles are very old and very crowded with a wire on the top, 3 electric wires, and 3 big internet cables. Number 8, how far will these antennas be from the ground and from the house? Number 9, when do they plan to install these 5G towers? Number 10, what input does the town council and town residents have on the 5G tower locations and getting answers to our questions? Steve Weiss. And Mayor, I wrote a real quick editorial on both of these items. I think it's pretty sure these are the first that I'm learning about both of them. So I just wanted to say to the mayor and council and to those who commented that we would look into both of these matters and get back to all those we need to as we look into each item.
Perfect. Yeah, I was jotting down notes as well, Mr. Charnovich. So if you could just help us with the follow-up there to investigate both items and including any sort of outreach to our attorney as well, especially as it relates to 5G, because there was a lot of conversations around those in meetings, and then it sort of died down with the pandemic. So it's interesting that now it's popping up. And so definitely think we need to address it as a town. So thank you for being proactive with that. That completes the public comments submissions for tonight. So we're moving forward with unfinished business. And under this item, we have the 57th Avenue paving and lighting project. Mr. Charnovich, were you going to update us, or was Mr. Hall going to lead on that?
One of us can. Mr. Hall, I think, are you on the call? I think
he
you
is.
are.
I saw him unmute. Mr. Hall, you want to take it?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, I can take over. Matter of fact, good afternoon, Mayor and Council and staff members and community residents. Right now we're at stage 2 in the planning stage. We do have some planning, and we do have some planning stage that's already developed through our engineer staff, CPJ, and me and Brandon have went over a couple of things. And what we're trying to do right now is I'm going to meet with the electrician. We're both going to meet with the electrician tomorrow to locate the lighting in between Bladensburg High School and a community center. We may be able to go down to the first Emerson Street, depending on the funding and how much the lighting is cost now. When we did the previous lighting, pedestrian lighting from Annapolis Road to the Bladensburg High School, as everybody knows, the cost has changed. We don't know how many lights we can put up, but in that phase, we put up 23 lights, hoping that we'd be able to do at least 20 to 25 lights during this process. And then after that, we will be waiting for the spring to come to start the work.
That is great news, Mr. Hall. And then one follow-up question is, can you tell us at what point PEPCO is notified or just made aware of the project, since eventually it's connecting to their system? Is it too early for that?
Well, yes, ma'am. The electrician would do all that. Once we have all the plans, we have to have all the plans in phase so they can know what pole that we can pull off from.
That makes sense. Okay, thank you. Any questions from the council or other staff? Okay. Thank you so much, Mr. Hall. Cannot wait for this project to be completed, but definitely appreciate all the behind the scenes work that you're doing to make this project move forward.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Great, so we'll move forward, continuing with unfinished business. Restart the timer. Councilmember Rout, did you want to kick us off on this, or you want me to start it off and hand it over? I mean, really, we just wanted to make sure that we're keeping this in front of the community to let you know we're continuing what we committed to, which was looking into how we can address rent stabilization in a way where we get maximum impact. And so there is a particular development in the community. Councilmember Rao, Councilmember Brown, myself are on a weekly basis involved with residents, trying to help them deal with that particular management company. But in tandem with that, we are researching, trying to understand what other municipalities are doing to address the very same issue. In at least one case, another community is dealing with the exact same owner. So the tactics are very similar in terms of the tactics around increasing rent at astronomical rates with very, very little notice to residents, but not necessarily putting the building in pristine condition that would warrant that type of rental income. So a number of things have happened. Again, we're getting information from our peers, from other municipalities in Prince George's County specifically. Separate from that, the legislative committee is putting out, this is the legislative committee for PGCMA. We'll be sharing our legislative priorities with the body at this Thursday's meeting, and we'll have that as one of our legislative priorities, and understand it is going to be a long-term commitment, but we do feel by leveraging the voices of all 27 municipalities that we will have a stronger chance to move the needle with the county as well as with the state. But that's just my update. I do want to turn it over to Councilmember Rao and Councilmember Brown for updates, because again, they have been working on this issue very, very intimately. So Councilmember Rao.
Yes, thanks, Mayor James. Just to add on to what you have said, I have held meetings with different legislators at the state level that have tried to put forth legislation to take care of this rent stabilization. So there's different phases. There's the fact that there's no notice. The current law in the state is that if a landlord wants to increase the rent, they can do so tomorrow without giving any notice. So that's one issue. The other issue is that there's rising cost. And that's the one that our residents are feeling the most. Not only, the no notice, but it's like, you didn't give me notice and you're increasing me by $500-600 to the tune of those numbers. And then there is a provision also. So there's another issue, which is residents are being forced to be evicted. And I'm using forced as a reason, as an intentional word, because renewals are not offered to residents, or residents are being presented with documentation you sign or else. And so there's 3 different issues. And so what we are doing collectively on the council is talking with other municipalities. So Hyattsville is going through the same thing. Mount Rainier is going through the same thing. New Carrollton and Laurel. So though we're learning from them, and honestly, in consultation with some of our council members, we want this to be fair. We want this to be fair for residents, of course, because that's who we represent, but also businesses. And so we don't want to make any decisions in any haste, so that there is, repercussions that come back where developers don't even want to come to the town because we have this particular thing. I ran into Denny Traveris over the weekend, and I had this conversation with her just, casually. And she brought up a good point. What we don't want is that municipalities to create their own legislation, and then it plays municipalities against one another. For example, there's a developer that may want to come to North Brentwood, but not to the town of Bladensburg because we have a rent stabilization provision and they don't. So there are a lot of different moving factors, and we are really trying to do our due diligence on behalf of all of our residents. And so we're still in the investigation stage. Mayor James and I are going to the NLC. We talked about dividing the rent stabilization opportunities to learn more about it at the conference. And so that's all I have.
Thank you, Councilmember Rao. Councilmember Brown, would you like to share any perspectives on this issue?
Just very quickly. I mean, I still did what you and Councilman Rao saying, and I think it's just very important that we continue. We went to the Senator Malcolm Augustine's leadership meeting and quarterly meeting, and one thing is, put it before our legislators. I think we are headed in that right direction. Unfortunately, after the moratorium was lifted, something wasn't put in place so that residents wouldn't be, people who are renting wouldn't be in this position. But however, I think we are moving forward. We are listening. We are doing our due diligence and working with the legislators and senators and delegates in the county council, so that it's something that can be done countywide and statewide. So we will definitely continue to keep our residents abreast and let them know that we're out there really working for them very hard.
Thank you both for sharing. Definitely appreciate it. Councilmember Blunt or Councilmember McBride, did you want to add anything to that update? Okay.
Not at this time.
Okay, thank you. So again, it's not a quick situation. We're trying to be careful, be thoughtful, move with as much information as possible, and really engage with all sides of the equations. And so that does include the property owners. So we'll continue to provide updates back to the community as we walk through this process and hopefully bring resolution that works for everyone. Everyone may not love it, but as long as we know that we're doing what's right for the community, we're trying to, preserve a safe and equitable place for people to do business, but also to live at a reasonable rate, I think we'll be okay. So again, thank you all for all your work on this important issue. At this time, that completes the unfinished business for tonight's meeting. And so we're going to get into one of our favorite topics, which is ARPA. So Mr. Spinelli. I should have let Councilmember Brown say it, because she's always like ARPA. Introducing ARPA.
Rich, you want me to take the lead on this, or do you want to start off, or?
I can start off, and then I'll punt it to you, Vito. Okay.
Okay. All good. Perfect.
That's a good Commander's analogy, I guess.
Yeah.
For the game tonight. Go Steelers. Anyway, so I think a major focal point of tonight's update is going to be the significant response that we have been working through and managing in the front office as it relates to the housing assistance programs, which I touched on this briefly in my my written report too about this. But so last month's meeting, we introduced an ordinance to allocate an additional $300,000 into the ARPA budget for this fiscal year. And since that time period, we have already reached that amount. And we still have applications in the queue. So I guess not only have we reached our budget amount, there's been a transfer now of additional funds via the ordinance we're going to adopt in letter B this evening, the next item on the agenda. And then we are going to then need to take next steps in the program to figure out how we're going to approach moving forward with additional funding. So with that, Mr. Tonelli, I can punt it over to you to throw out some of the ideas that you and I had virtually. Good to see you, by the way. It's been a few weeks.
Oh, thank you. Yeah.
You look good. you look good. Glad things are going well for you.
Yeah. Well, as I always say, good enough. So I'm going to share my screen real quick. This is part of my, can everybody see a spreadsheet here? It's not flashy. It's just a spreadsheet. Everybody can see it, I guess.
Yes, we can see
it.
Okay,
good. Okay. This part of my financial report. And we spent last year, we allocated 350, spent 342. Of that was, I'm using rounded figures to get through this quickly. Spent 138 last year. Okay, last year we only started this in the beginning of May, so that's only for really 2 months right there. New budget year. Now we spent, we've expended $488,000 of community assistance, and that includes the rental assistance, small nonprofit assistance here, and food assistance as well. So, but the big thing that Mr. Charnovich was talking about is we spent this $465,000. We were budgeted for and that included the mortgage assistance as well. We haven't had any mortgage assistance ones come through that have been approved, but between these three amounts, we've been using those as the community rental / mortgage assistance. So what Mr. Charnovich has said after passing this resolution tonight, we're basically in suspended status right now because we've been allocated the funding and it's been obliged, spent, etc. So the program is, there's a lot of need out there. So all the applications now have just been put on hold right now. So I guess what we're coming to after this resolution is passed this evening is what is the next step with the ARPA funding? Do we continue the rental assistance? Do we still have the nonprofit assistance there, which hasn't been used. I mean, because really the rental assistance and need is out there. If we go back to the spreadsheet, I'm sorry. I think there is a total of, I'm sorry, I'm trying to get through this quick. I don't have it on here. I think it was like 150 families or 120 to 150 families. I forget off the top of my head, with the average benefit amount of like $4,900. So,
Mr. Tonelli, I found what you're looking for. It was a total of 102 families have been assisted, and the average rental assistance award is $4,950.
Thank you. Yes, and I hate to say it's a drop in the bucket. I know we want to, a council member Route said in work session, we try to, we need to like show that we're using these funds. Right now, we've used our a quarter of the funds, or budget to use a quarter of the funds right now. So the question becomes, what do we do with the rental assistance program? Well, I talked with Mr. Charnovich. I mean, we just put a couple ideas out there. I mean, this really comes down to, what's the appetite of the council? I mean, this is just us putting something on paper to, to try to get the conversation started. There it is, Mayor. I'm sorry, it's 122 families. Yes. So you can see the total cumulative expended just for rental assistance is just over $600,000. And we've had the $17,000 of food assistance expended, which we talked about, where it's coming up. So what do we do about continuing the program? Do we, put in another budget amendment to authorize it, the town to expand the rental assistance program? And that's this first option here. You can see the pros. It helps a wide range of families on actual need, because no two families have the same need, or in the same area, or in the same building. But the cons are it costs a lot more because you have such varied amounts and everything, and varied amounts of arrearages, anything from being back 1 month to 12 months of rent. So it's difficult to budget, and it's not as equitable because some people need this much need, some only this much need, but we are helping everybody that way. Something I came up with, I called it a slot level, and this is just an example. And it caps the amount of rental assistance. Now this is easier to manage. It's more equitable, and if anything, extends the life of the program, because you're not expending as much, per applicant. But the cons are it's a lower benefit, and does it actually adequately address the problem of homeless prevention? So that's just something I put out there. It's just an option, just to talk about it, and I put on there other options as well. So I guess, the issue is, when it comes down to it, do we extend the program? We have the funding. Do we go ahead and extend the program? Or do we, extend it with other ways? So that's just something I want to put out there for discussion. Did I catch all that, Rich?
Yes, sir, you did.
So I want to open it up first. Thank you, Mr. Tonelli, for that overview, but I want to open it up for discussion for the council and get your reactions to it. Councilmember Brown, your thoughts?
Thanks, Mayor. Thanks, Mr. Tonelli and Mr. Chernovich. As a matter of fact, Mr. Finelli, speedy recovery. Good seeing you.
Oh, thank you.
I'm trying to be kind of quick. I think there's a need and we need to help. I'm not gonna be long-winded about it. I don't know if we want to set aside to say, okay, we do 1.5 million and see where that gets us out of the $4 million. I mean, it's really to provide relief to our residents. Some of the other stuff, it's good that we could do those things, but when we have people who are in need and just next to homelessness, and initially the American Rescue Plan Act was to rescue. So I know that there are other things that need to happen, but people in their homes, when they're about to lose the roof over their head, it's just that's kind of forefront. For me, it's forefront. And if we want to say, I mean, we could look at where it's. I don't know that there is a cap until the money is gone. But yes, we continue. We continue to help and provide the assistance. And I see your suggestion, Mr. Tonelli, but if we can't just say, hey, if you fall within this, then we'll give you this, and we're still not helping out. So I don't. I think that as long as the need continues and we have the money, and if we want to say that we do 1.5 or 2 million or whatever, and see where that lands us. But I feel that we still have to provide that rental mortgage and utility assistance. Now, as far as the nonprofits, and I can talk about that. I do, when we're looking at the businesses, we do have the flyer. It needs to be tweaked a little bit for the businesses, but then also considering the number of businesses and then what that amount looks like for businesses, and that figure we really need to talk about. But I mean, that's just as important as the homeowners, but the homeowners rental a mortgage, I think we need to say that's so that we're not continue to revisit that 1.5 million, I mean, whatever that amount is that we can agree upon, this to say, hey, the money is here for that, and let's try to help as many of our residents as we can.
Yeah, thank you for that, Councilmember Brown. And I do agree with you. That was one of the things I was concerned with, that looking at that slot system. If we go with that and it's still not enough to keep someone in their home, we're not addressing the need. And homelessness right now is a major, major concern in communities. And so I agree. We have the resources. This is a worthy need of those resources. So I feel like if we have justification, even if it's to say the next budget ordinance is for another 400,000, that gets us to $1 million total for housing. That would, I think, would be good. And if we need to come back to the table, then let's do it. But I think what's also interesting is that 50,000 has not even been touched with mortgage assistance. And so rolling that over to rental, since that's where the hot, demand is, I think makes a lot of sense as well. Because that, it's not on the handout, I don't think, but I'm pretty sure, Mr. Tonelli, correct me if I'm wrong, I thought it was $50K that was there for
yes,
mortgage
it's
assistance.
50,000, and we see those as interchangeable, kind of, and just because it's there. So, but as you said, the demand has not been there, so we kind of, the demand was with the rental assistance, so we use those funds. But but those funds are, if the mayor and council were to approve additional funds, we would use. I would suggest we use those funds interchangeably, because we haven't had any, because the mortgage assistance has taken up 100% of it. So
thank you for that. Just want to keep going. I'll stick with Ward 1. Councilmember Rao, your reactions or thoughts?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor James. And I do agree with Councilmember Brown that the need is there. We have the money, and we need to expend it. We need to add money. I am in favor of mortgage assistance staying on there as a separate item. The only reason I am advocating that it stays on there is because, homeowners, they have different needs than renters. And, to just be honest, homeowners, they pay property taxes, and they are directly customers of our town. Not that rentals are not, but I would hate for the majority of the funds to be taken up by renters, and there isn't a safe provision for mortgages. And so as a homeowner, I do think we do need to separate the pots and keep the pots separate in the event, we're entering into winter. We don't know, how the flu and our RSV, if COVID is going to be an uptick. I mean, we're still coming out of it. But what we do know is that our community has a very high need. I'm very interested in understanding commercial businesses and their rental needs. Is it only for residence rental? Is it for commercial business rental? Because I know that is a need. I mean, rent is going up all over for businesses and for residences. And so not to add any more work for us to do, but people are really hurting as we came out the pandemic. Everything is rising. So I do think that we need to add more funds to the pots for the purposes of keeping people in their homes and businesses. But then I also would like to see the mortgage stand alone. Maybe it's a reduction because we're not using 50, but I feel strongly something needs to remain there. I yield.
Thank you, Councilmember Rao. Councilmember Blunt, come over to Ward 2. Okay,
I ditto on everything you all said about keeping the money in there for residents and their rental. But I'm still trying to figure out like the grants for the nonprofit. I think this may be 3 months now. We've been saying something's going to be done. We're working on a flyer. We're working on this, but still they're not being looked at as just as important as the renters. We know we need our residents to stay here, but we have businesses that may be hurting as well, especially nonprofit who business failed because of COVID. And I really wish that we can really come to the table to really talk about the nonprofits. The money is counting down, but yet I haven't heard anything about nonprofits or businesses. So
thank you for that.
But Mama Vito, did I see $50 in there for nonprofit or businesses, or did I just read something wrong on that sheet you had?
Yes, 1 second. Let me
Sorry, this one.
No. Yes, $50,000 for nonprofit assistance. Yes.
So where did you get that number from? I'm just Just asking.
We did that during the, I want to say it was the July work session, I think, that we put in an amount for ARPA, and we came back and we divvied up the community assistance.
And we still haven't gotten nowhere since July, and is now going on December.
And
so that's
Councilmember Blunt, thank you for raising that. And it's really, please don't take this as an excuse, but to process $600,000 in rental applications, it's not like they can just take the paper, push it through. The amount of man hours doing that on top of the other day-to-day work is pretty phenomenal. That the small staff, we've only got 4 or 5 people in our front office. And so I do hear your heart and the passion for the nonprofits and the businesses, but I don't know if you understand the amount of work that is taken for them to just help people stay in their homes. I know, and I'll just give one example, one of our residents, the amount of hours they had to keep calling to get information from her, and then calling the owner, all the back and forth in time, it takes hours sometimes just to help one.
And I do understand that.
I think I was thinking about what, I knew this was a passion of yours. And so my recommendation, because our interim town administrator can do this, is just get a temp to come in who can help process the applications for the businesses and nonprofits. That will help us at least get started before the end of the year and move some of those process applications forward so those checks can start getting cut. I think with the rental, because it does take calling, and now because they've been doing this for so many months, the property managers know our staff. So they're a little more transparent with, okay, yes, I sent that over. They'll share a little bit more to help try to expedite things a little bit. So I wouldn't want to hand that project off to a temp, and because it's a bigger pot, that they're working with. And so, if that's an agreement, because I know you're passionate about this and you want to do something, and it is November from discussing it in July, but I wanted to just throw out a solution to try to help us get to where you want to be.
And that's fine. I mean, just talking about it, because no one said a dollar amount of which anybody get, whether it's 1,000 per business, whether 500 per business. No one ever said it was a dollar amount. So I'm just
recommend.
No,
I mean, as someone, because this is your passion, and I think we do want to be thoughtful in terms of the amount of relief that we give the businesses for all the things that you just stated. They're all very, very valid reasons. And so I wouldn't feel comfortable doing $1,000. I think if these businesses are hurting, we have to do something like $5,000 to help them. If it's rent, mortgage, however they need to use it. But I feel like 1,000, if you're struggling, it's not going to go very far.
I threw that number out there. So we're not at no number at a point. So I was throwing a number out there. If we have a lot of businesses and we've given them a cap of 5,000 or 1,000, at least we know what that is. And that's just having them to ask and sending them a check. We don't, at the end of the day, we're not asking what do you need the money for, or unless we are. But other than that, it's a start. But you want to get, even with the nonprofits, it's a start. That's all. It's a start. And however you want to do it, it's fine. But again, just want to get somewhere. I know I was working with Trina. If Trina willing to sit down and talk about it, maybe help a little bit. You say what the direction is, or Vito, or excuse me, Rich can give some pointers. I have no problem with that.
Yeah, that would be great.
And thank you,
Councilmember. The other thing too is, because I just want to see the 50K move, and the same thing, we can come back with a budget ordinance if we find after some, a couple months, we need to go back and increase it. But that 50, I think the reason we agreed on it was just to start, just to see, do we need more, just like with the rental assistance. So I think that's fantastic, if you don't mind, leading that effort. Mr. Charnovich, did you have a response? I know Councilmember Blunt had thrown out a few questions. Did you want to respond?
I did have a couple comments, but I see Councilmember Brown also has her hand up. I can wait till Councilmember Brown goes first, and then I can go.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilmember
This will be real quick. Yeah, and so Ray, the flyer is designed. There will be some changes, and then the application, needs to work with Mr. Charnovich for the application, doing some little tweaking for the businesses. But I want to go to Mr. Reinhardt, and yes, Councilmember Blunt, you and I, we can, take it to the next step. But Mr. Reinhardt, there are 168 businesses. How many businesses are there in the town? Because we can just do the numbers real quick. As you told us once, I think, how many businesses?
It's I think we're up to 171 right now. Okay, yeah, we were at 168. We had a few more that actually vacant locations actually reopened up. So we're at 171 currently.
So if we look at that and how and we just decide how we're going to vet the process, but at 171 at $5,000, that's $855,000. So but we definitely need to settle on an amount. If it's if it's 5,000, and then also in terms of the nonprofits, I think the nonprofits are fine, but from and just like with determining whether the nonprofit has a business with a tax ID that's in the town of Bladensburg. So that's with the nonprofit with the nonprofits to determine, hey, so that we're taking care of nonprofits who actually physically have their tax base here in.
Yes. Yeah, as long as we're being fair and we have not given anybody any organizations anything outside of what you just said.
Oh, what I'm hearing is you both don't mind working through it and then coming back for the December meeting.
I agree.
Okay, thank you so much.
Leah.
So I appreciate it. Councilmember Brown, your hand went down and came back up. Did you have a follow-up? Okay, Mr. Charnovich.
Just a couple quick points, and Mr. Tonelli, if you disagree with anything I say, feel free to chime in. It's all good. So I just wanted to say, number one, I like where this discussion is going regarding the businesses, but at least administratively for the administration department and for the finance department, I tend to feel that it's very important that we, for the business assistants, that we set some type of cap. Now, here's in theory, here's why I'm saying that. A scenario that I would like to avoid is business A comes in and asks for, let's just call it $40,000. And I think our internal staff in our office need a little bit of teeth to say, hey, this program is only providing X dollars per business, because we currently have $50,000 budgeted. And if we get this thing off the ground and the first business that comes in here, I understanding their need. I don't want to make it sound like I don't care about their need, but let's say they need 80 to 90% of that funding. Then we're sitting back here again at the next month or next 2 months and working to allocate more, which is understandable. But I think that's a great point. Is I think that whoever works all that out, Councilmember Blunt, Councilmember Brown, and us coming up with a number per business, I personally also think that $1,000 is not enough per business. So whether it's 5,000, then you're going to help a max of 10 businesses or nonprofits with that first 50,000 to get it moving. But I agree that I think we should set a cap per business, because it's a different animal, a different element than what we're working with regarding the housing assistance. And it's hard to compare the two. That was the first point. I think that's a great direction for businesses. And then the other point I wanted to just mention is over the course of and this is a thank you to staff and a thank you to everybody, front office, Diane, Ray, Tina, Vito. So without mentioning any names or anything else related to this topic. So in the last month since our last meeting, we had one, let's call it property management company A. we had a situation where they had a multitude a multitude of residents they were sending to court to evict. And over the course of the last month, it put a large strain on our entire office operation, because everybody was busting their tails to, work through, this touches on what Mayor James said, to work through follow-ups, to work with the hours, time, phone calls, emails, to try and work with this particular management company who's had all of these residents who were going to be up for eviction and all their court dates were on the same date, which caused let's just say it was a difficult situation. And everybody within our office worked together, and we helped a lot of people this month. And I think a large, what Mr. Telly was saying with the funding that we expended over the course of the last month, a lot of it was kind of due to that situation that we were working through. But the positive way to spin it is we worked to help a lot of people who needed the help. So, but I wanted to say thank you to all of our staff in the office who worked very diligently to get through that situation. That took up a lot of our time with respect to the rental assistance.
So Rich, thank you for that. I do want to move us along because we're well over 30 minutes into this discussion and we've got another hour of agenda items. Councilmember Rout, I see your hand. I'm not trying to be rude. Is it something quick or regarding this, or okay?
I'll follow up with Council Members Brown and Blunt to share just one perspective.
Perfect.
Hasn't been presented. I'll offline.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that. So that completes the discussion with respect to rental assistance, housing assistance, and so forth. We did also discuss in the work session the need to utilize ARPA funding for the Bostwick project, and I don't want to lose sight of that. The total amount that was needed was
116,548.
Thank you. So with that, Mr. Charnovich, do we have to do a separate budget ordinance to move those funds over? Because right now that is not currently in our funding plan for the use of ARPA funds. So I was gonna just open it up to you to say, do we need to prepare that budget ordinance for the December meeting? And in the meantime, just if you could let Mr. Parker know, this is something the council wants to do. I do think because it is financial, we still need to vote on it at this moment. But I just want to move it forward given the discussion and the timeliness, because I know Councilmember Brown kept asking about the timelines. So we don't want to hold things up unnecessarily. So was that the approach you were going to recommend?
Yeah. So Mayor, what I would recommend is since the ordinance was not prepared, because I wasn't really sure how the discussion would go this evening. So I would recommend that you memorialize it tonight by way of a motion. The discussion itself seemed to be, I think it seemed to be unanimous in the work session. So I would probably memorialize it with a motion tonight to allocate those funds in that dollar amount to that. But then I would say that we should come back in December with the formal ordinance also. So like you said, to keep things moving forward, we can document the fact that we are doing this by a motion tonight, and then we would still move forward with an actual ordinance similar to what we need to do with housing assistance and everything else. Does that make sense, Mayor?
Yes, it does. So is there a motion on the table to approve the allocation of, give me that number again, Councilmember Brown, $116,548. $548 from ARPA funding for the use of preservation for Bostwick.
I so moved.
Moved by Councilmember Blunt. Is there a second?
Councilman Brock second, but she's on mute.
Oh, sorry, I didn't. Thank you, Councilmember McBride. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, let it be known by the saying of aye.
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 Any nays? The ayes have it. Thank you so much. So again, we'll have the ordinance ready for the next meeting. The next item.
Mayor, excuse me, do we need to mention that of that $19,280 is reimbursable? Do we need to mention it or just? No?
We did discuss it, but I think because we need to pay upfront for it.
Okay, so we just, okay.
Yeah, we
okay.
are just asking
okay.
for the whole amount. And then like you said, the 19,000 in that last approval of the grant will be refunded, will be reimbursed for that.
Okay.
Which means it'll come back down to like 97K, 98K once it's all said and done. Okay. The next item is the ordinance adoption for the ARPA budget amendment. Mr. Charnovich, do you want to proceed with the second reading?
Yes. Thank you, Mayor. Let me grab some water here. We're ordinance palooza recently here. We're got a lot of ordinances on the table. All right, so this is a second reading. Our first reading was at the October 3rd council meeting. This is an ordinance to amend the operating budget of the town of Bladensburg, Maryland for the 2023 fiscal year, July 1st, 2022 through June 30th, 2023. Whereas the town administrator of the town of Bladensburg has made a recommendation to the mayor and council to amend the FY23 budget to reallocate funds as part of this fiscal year. And whereas the mayor and council of the town of Bladensburg have determined it's in the best interest of the town to pass this as a budget amendment ordinance at the November 14, 2022 town council meeting. Now therefore be it enacted and ordained by the mayor and town council of the town of Bladensburg that the following amendments are made to the general operating fund budget for fiscal year 2023. Increase community initiatives, $300,000 for ARPA expenditures. Increase intergovernmental federal revenue by $300,000 for ARPA funds transferred in to offset increased expenditures. And be it further enacted and ordained that upon passage, this ordinance shall be authenticated by the signature of the mayor and town clerk, shall be recorded in a book kept for that purpose. In addition, the ordinance shall be published by posting a certified copy of it in the town hall for 10 days following its adoption, pursuant to Article 2, Section 209 of the Charter of Town of Bladensburg, Maryland, and will be effective the 14th day of November, 2022. And that's it, Mayor.
Great. And so following the second reading of the ordinance number 01-2023 fiscal year 2023 budget amendment, is there a motion to approve the ordinance?
So moved.
Moved by Council Member Rout. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Council Member Blunt. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, let it be known by the saying of aye.
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 Any nays? The ayes have it. Thank you so much. The ordinance passes. The next item is an administrative matter, annual leave carryover policy. Mr. Charnovich and Mr. Tonelli, I think you both are up for this one.
Mr. Tonelli, do you want to possibly take this one since you have much more of historic knowledge on this one since I wasn't here whenever the initial decision was made to regarding the additional carryover.
Sure. I can't share the screen because I'm on a different. I'm on my VPN into my work computer, but a couple of years ago, it was the. Okay, let me start over. Okay, so in our personnel policies, our personnel policy manual, our annual leave policy is the maximum amount of annual leave is 360 hours. But 2 years ago at the December 2020 council meeting, we increased the maximum to 440 hours to the end of 2022. Now, this was due to the police department was on a leave hold during the state of emergency due to the pandemic. And it's also difficult to take leave due to vacancies. And somehow I feel like that we've never really truly gotten out of that. And currently we have a number of officers on leave right now, on administrative leave. And we also have some vacancies within the town as well that we were trying to fill. And even though it was extended to 440 hours, this sunsets on December 31st of this year. It was good through 2 years when this was adopted by the mayor and council back in 2020. And we're coming up on the same issue again. We have a handful of folks that are past the 360-hour mark. And unfortunately, you know, it's we're small staff. You know, if one person's out, you feel it. If 5 people are out, you really feel it. You know, and it's difficult. You know, especially for department heads too to even take off sometimes. So what happens is, you know, everybody tries to fill the gap and leave accrues, but you know, unfortunately, you know, we try to encourage folks to take off, but a lot of times it's easier said than done. So we're coming up on, you know, this renewal period of 440 hours. Sunsets at the end of, as I said, December 31, which is only a month and a half. And again, it's, you know, we're coming back just because looking for some options, I guess, because we're kind of back in the same boat again we were 2 years ago.
Yeah, thank you for that, Mr. Tonelli. And I do recall the council having to make that decision just to avoid people losing leave because of the pandemic and for all the reasons you stated. Councilmember Rout, I see your hand.
Thank you, Mayor James. I would like to understand from the directors, and I don't know if they're ready with this today, what's the plan on getting us out of this leave hold if we were to approve it? Because it seems like if we keep refreshing this with all of our gaps, with all of our holds, I mean, is there a certain number that the employee has to be able to reach by a certain time? Like, we have to have either a leave development plan. That's what we did at my last place of employment for my use or lose leave, not customers, the individuals I supervised. We had a leave development plan where we established, okay, you're going to do this throughout the time. So I would like to, maybe we're not ready, but maybe if the directors can talk about it and then present it at the December meeting, that would be nice.
Yeah, thank you for that, Councilmember Rout. And I definitely agree. I think we have started staffing up, especially in certain areas like the police department. We now have a full command staff. And so just, you know, giving some thought to how that leave can really be phased down over a defined period of time would be helpful. So like, just like you said, we don't have to just keep coming back to this every year or 2 years to vote on the same thing. But looking around the horn, Chief, I think your hand was up as well.
Yes, man. I agree with Mayor and Council, what you guys are saying about trying to manage the leave. Unfortunately, like I would say for the PD, unfortunately this year, we have, 3 officers involved in a critical incident that are out. And then we have another 3 officers that are out or going out for FMLA. So that right there is over a fourth of the police department right there that we are down. So, it's challenging. Sometimes it's easier said than done. When you encounter the unexpected, like in one day, we had 3 officers out in one day, so due to one, incident. So, I definitely appreciate the council's guidance and definitely support what Vito put out. But I would just say, be mindful that, in a split second, we can have this many officers out in the agency this size. To have 3 officers out, it really hurts. And then another 3 out for FMLA, on maternity leave or paternity leave, whatever's applicable.
Yeah, thank you for that, Chief. So, Mr. Charnovich, if you wouldn't mind putting this back on the agenda for December, and we'll just, look for a proposal from staff on a way to address this moving forward. So thank you all for those comments. So the next item.
Mayor, Councilmember Blunt, you can't see her hand.
Oh,
She's
shoot.
trying to...
I'm sorry again. I'm sorry.
Councilwoman, you have to come off mute, okay?
No. Okay, sorry, I have just two questions. Do you all have comp time, or, I mean, I know I don't like it, but at the end of the day, is there comp time for the police officers or the staff? Do you offer that?
Yes, they earn comp leave.
Huh?
Yes, ma'am. They do earn comp leave as well.
And can you check with other municipalities to see what do they do with their carryovers? Are we the only one that does that much in carryovers? Or
no, I'm sorry.
Everybody do it across the board? Yes.
I can tell you, if you go across the board and first responders, because remember, we are essential employees, we have to show up. So everyone across the board is experiencing staff shortages, and they have to fill in, and they aren't able to take off because they're so understaffed, and that's across the board with the police departments.
And they do carryovers like we have done in the past?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
This is not uncommon.
Thank you for that. So we'll, again, just look forward to continuing this conversation next month with that proposal. And then the next item, item D under financial business, is the resolution related to the ambulance transfer to the fire department. Is that you, Mr. Charnovich?
Thank you, Mayor. That's going to be a combination of Mr. Tonelli and I, given that this started back in 2020 again. I was not present when this all began, but I will say, though, for housekeeping reasons, Mr. Tonelli, can you pull up the resolution if you can share your screen? So, Mayor, Town Attorney Ferguson sent us this at around 5:30 today. The 2-page resolution. I did circulate it around 5:30, but the meeting started, and I know we're all in the heat of the meeting. So I wanted Vita to pull this up on the screen for us, so whenever the time comes, I can read it. But rather than just going with the words, Mr. Tonelli, maybe you can give a synopsis of where this ambulance journey has taken us over the last few years, and why we're here at this point.
Well, back in 2020, when we had the original CARES Act funding, we purchased a ambulance chassis, which is a Freightliner chassis, which is just pretty much the cab and the frame, and the help me out, Sean, the axles. And what's happened with the supply chain issues and everything else, and engineering, because this has to be done to engineering specs that have to be approved by the manufacturer, by the Bladensburg Volunteer Fire Department, also has to be approved by Prince George's County as well. So, and it was backward. Okay, so that's 2020. Back in February or March of 2021, we came before the council to get something called a liquid spring suspension option, which I believe was around another $9,000. Real quick, that just enables the ambulance to pretty much glide on air, on rough roads and everything, so you don't have the medical supplies falling on patients or something. Okay, so fast forward to now, the chassis was built. It's now down in Coach Works in Florida to have the box, which is the actual ambulance box. The Bladensburg Fire Department has designed and is being installed on an ambulance chassis. And the whole unit should be done sometime, we're thinking around January 2023, which is only a couple of months from now. But the real issue that we're coming to the mayor and council is that we still haven't taken title of the ambulance yet, because we haven't taken really delivery of it yet. So what we really want to do is title it in Bladensburg Volunteer Fire Department's name, instead of being signed title as Town Bladensburg. and then transfer it to Bladensburg Volunteer Fire Department. If we do it that way, then Bladensburg Volunteer Fire Department will have to go through an inspection process as a, I want to say as like a used unit that has to go, has to be re-inspected again and re-tagged. So what we want to do is the dealer, the manufacturer has something called a Manufacturer Certificate of Origin, MCO. Instead of having that titled to the town of Bladensburg, we want it titled to Bladensburg Volunteer Fire Department. Just speeds things up, just speeds things up for the transfer, because really it's not going to be the town's ambulance. It's going to be Bladensburg Volunteer Fire Department's ambulance. But we just can't do this as an administrative thing without some sort, if the mayor and council approve this, without some sort of paper trail of why we're doing this. So we contacted our town attorney, and she said the best way to do it is, take pretty much everything, that we want to do. She put it into a resolution to be presented to the mayor and council. Now, this is only if, mayor and council, decides to do it, but we do have a draft resolution ready to go. So hopefully that made some sense.
It does.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you for that, Mr. Tonelli. My question is there any major issue if we held off until the December meeting, only to give the council time to review the resolution? I know you mentioned, Mr. Charnovich, it was sent over while the meetings were in progress this evening. So we haven't had a chance to see it. I know I haven't. I'm focused here and taking notes and not on email. And I don't think we should have to vote on something that we haven't had an opportunity to review first. If it's crucial, time sensitive, that in order to not delay delivery of it, the situation, it is for public safety. So I want to understand, what's the level of urgency here? Can this wait until December, or is it something that needs to happen tonight?
Good question. If you ask the manufacturer, if you ask the dealer, it would be utmost urgency. And we told them that we'd have something presented to you all tonight. At the end of the day, though, the unit is not going to be completed until late December or January. So, I don't want to force anything down everybody's throat either, though, too. So, I mean, it's, so we're trying to do this, very clean. So, I mean, they've already received our funds 2 years ago. So it's not like, anything's being held up with payment or anything. This is just being held up with how the vehicle is going to be titled and transferred.
Yeah, so would that be fine with the council to just put this on the December agenda so you don't have to try to speed read through it? Okay. Councilmember Brown?
Yeah, thanks, Mayor. Or I don't know, can we call a special session if we need to, or
yeah, we could definitely do that if necessary. Again, we're not trying to hold it up, but I just don't like putting the team in that position where a meeting started and something important needs to be voted on, and we get it, while we're all literally present, company included, we're all working in that meeting. So yeah, I think if we could do something like that, that would be great. I know next week is Thanksgiving, but if we needed to do like a 5:30 or the following week, I'm flexible. So just, Mr. Charnovich, if you could help us schedule something.
And we'll see if we can buy some time too, Mayor, Council.
Okay. Perfect. Thank you.
I was just going to say, Mayor, if I may give my administrative opinion, unless there's some glaring reason, I would recommend we wait till December 12th rather than go through the process of scheduling the special meeting. But like Mr. Tonelli said, maybe we'll touch base and see what's going on. But if there's no true reason why we can't wait till December, I think we should wait till December. And if there's some immediate need, then we can do that, if that's okay.
Yeah, that works. Again, I'm not trying to hold up a public safety vehicle, so that, knowing it's not ready tomorrow, it helps. And if we could just do it in December, that would be fantastic. So we'll wait to hear back on that.
Thank you, Mayor.
Definitely. So that completes old business. We're now into new business. And so I want to turn it over to Chief Collington about the replacement police vehicle. I know we talked a little bit about it in the work session.
Yes, Mayor. Good afternoon, Mayor, Council, colleagues, and community again. As we discussed earlier, we had, unfortunately, on October the 10th, we had a critical incident, officer involved shooting incident, where one of our cruisers was severely damaged as the suspect was trying to make good his escape in a stolen vehicle and collided in the back of one of our cruisers, rendering that cruiser a total loss by our legit courier. So there was a 2017 Ford Interceptor, and obviously they're not making the 17s anymore. So that was the damages by the adjuster came to over $27,000 in damage, and he put the vehicle's value at $15,000. So we're asking the council to, if you would approve a replacement vehicle. This was no fault of the officers. This was the suspect driving a stolen vehicle, trying to make good his escape, try to run over an officer. In the process, he rammed one of our cruisers. We would have had two cruisers damaged, but that officer was able to, get out of the way of this guy driving. So we're asking the council if you will consider replacing that vehicle. And the total cost of that vehicle, the 23s have gone up. We normally piggyback off the state contract, and usually the vehicles are $35,900. The 23s are now $44,395. And then we have to outfit that vehicle, which that is a $20,000 price tag. So with the value of that vehicle, the cost should come out to $49,320. So that is what we're asking the council if you would consider approving that vehicle. The insurance hasn't paid out for the damage of that vehicle yet, but that can be reimbursed back into the fund.
Thank you for that, Chief. And I want to make sure we have the right amount. So with the money from our insurance carrier, it brings total cost down to $49,320. Did I get that right?
Yes, that brings it down $49,320.
Okay. And original cost without the money back from the insurance is $44,391, and then plus the $20K to outfit it
is $395.
95. Oh, I was $4 short. Chief. They want that $4.
Oh yeah.
All right. So, is there a motion from the council to approve the request for a replacement police vehicle purchase in the net amount of $49,320 for the police department?
I so moved.
Moved by Councilmember Blunt. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilmember McBride. Any further discussion or questions? Councilmember Rout?
Yeah, as stated, thank you, Mayor James. As stated, I would like to see if we're spending that much money on a vehicle. I would rather spend a little bit more for a hybrid.
Thank you for that. So Chief, in terms of addressing a hybrid, well, first let me make sure that's the will of the council. I have no problem with that, but want to make sure there's consensus. So Councilmember Brown, or with any feedback from your side?
Are we just approving that with not knowing what the cost would be for hybrid?
That is going to actually if there's consensus, we're gonna have to go backwards and amend this motion. So that's why I'm trying to see what the consensus is before calling a vote.
Unless Mr. Tonelli could pull it up, because we didn't even, I mean, we got quotes off of we piggybacked off of a bid. So
Right.
if we could just look, I see he has his hand raised.
So Mr. Tonelli, do you have that info?
No, I don't have that information in front of me. I'm sorry, Councilmember Rout. I was just going to ask for a little clarification on the motion. Is even though we're getting insurance money back, we need to make the motion for the full amount of the purchase, because insurance reimbursements aren't like netted on the financials against like purchases. You know, incomes, expenses are expenses. So even though we talk about the net, just the budget amendment needs to state the full amount.
And full amount of $64,300.
Correct. Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
So before we walk it back, because that will not be the price of the hybrid.
Right.
The motion was made by Councilmember Blunt. Do you want to withdraw the motion, Councilmember?
Yes. Yes. Yes, I would like to withdraw it.
Okay. And Councilmember McBride, do you second that?
A second.
Okay. Is there anything else that needs to happen before we move on? I just want to make sure that's off the table. Mr. Charnovich.
Sorry, one sec. Yeah. Well, to answer your question, Mayor, first, yeah. Now that that is off the table, you can then proceed with the next part of your discussion. But I was also going to say that procedurally, what you could do is a not to exceed. So I don't think anybody has, like Mr. Tonelli said, he doesn't have it in front of him. And I don't know if Chief Collington has the cost of the hybrid in front of him either. So you would try to pull it off by way of some type of cost not to exceed number that would have to be greater than the 64,000 number. So I don't, I wouldn't really begin to know what that value is for a hybrid vehicle. But you might want to consider, I guess maybe err on the side of highballing it, but just in case, I just don't know whether it's a couple thousand, whether it's 10,000. I see Chief Collington has his hand raised.
Yeah, I was going to toss it back over to Chief Collington.
Now, Mayor, I just want to be clear in my instructions from the council. If you guys are asking me to go get a quote for a hybrid vehicle, now, if we are piggybacking off the state contract, so which is cheaper than the going out in the general market. So if you want me to go get a quote from a dealership for now, that could definitely push us outside of the government contract, which is always cheaper than going out retail.
Yeah, Chief, I think the recommendation is to get the bid from the state contract, so we save some money on that. Even with it being a hybrid, we know typically it's going to be a little bit more expensive, but over the long run, because of the maintenance that you don't have to do as though you had a combustible engine, vehicle, it will save the town in the long term. So if you're able to get the cost, that would be helpful. Or if you have a ballpark figure, as Mr. Charnovich was saying, we could, do the motion to approve the vehicle purchase up to X number of dollars. I can tell you the EV SUV I'm looking at, which clearly is not a police type vehicle, but still electric vehicle. And that alone, fully loaded, is $60,000 to $66,000. So I have to imagine, even with the state contract, you're probably looking at a $50,000 vehicle or close to it, plus the $20,000 to retrofit. But again, over the long term, I know we'll make that up because there's a lot of maintenance that will prevent, by having that hybrid vehicle.
So, man, just now on the other hand, because I had hybrid vehicles in my last employment. So after a certain period of time, there's a very large battery in a hybrid, not the small conventional battery you see, that the hybrid part of the electric part of that vehicle, at some point that battery will have to be replaced, and it is very expensive to replace that battery. So we just got rid of that vehicle at that point. And you would say around 70,000 miles or 80,000 miles, that battery will have to be replaced, and that battery is quite expensive.
Oh my goodness. So Chief, you're saying after 70,000 miles, you guys didn't even bother replacing the battery. You just got rid of the vehicle altogether.
Yes.
And what type of vehicle was it?
This is the hybrid. So that's the electric component of it.
Right.
You have your small 12-volt conventional battery, but then the hybrid battery, there's a large battery inside of it, and that is very expensive to replace that. So
right,
yeah,
but I'm sorry, I meant what type of vehicle was it? A Ford
oh,
Explorer or a
no,
Chevy?
yes. Yeah, we had Ford Fusions over there. All the command staff drove hybrid Ford Fusions. And so at some point you have your meter in there. That was the indicator that battery was going bad, because it had like leaves on trees, and it wouldn't even fully bloom the tree because the battery was getting weak. It wasn't charging to its full capacity.
Mm-hmm.
So we wound up just getting rid of the vehicle. So you save on fuel by going the hybrid, because I was getting like 500 miles to the gallon. To the tank. But then once we reached that 80,000 miles, that car started to let you know that the internal battery had to be replaced, and it was quite expensive to replace that. So we just got rid of the car.
Okay, thank you for that background, Chief. Councilmember Rout.
Yes, thank you, Mayor James. I'm the owner of a hybrid vehicle, and what Chief Collinson is saying is typically correct. But I also wanted to add that normally there is warranties that are placed on the hybrid battery up to 100,000 miles. And so that is standard across the board as it relates to hybrid vehicles. Regardless if we're saving or spending, because we need to take care of the earth. And, we have a green policy that we have in the town of Bladensburg. And if there is an option for eco-friendly, I think that we need to investigate and look into that. And then secondly, the range of how much off a hybrid vehicle is like 10 to 12,000. So if we felt comfortable putting forth something tonight with the NTE of 12,000, I would be comfortable with that. But if it's the pleasure of my colleagues.
So do you want to put forth that motion, Councilmember Rout?
Yes, I move that we adopt the proposal for a police vehicle not to exceed $70,000 not to exceed $70,000 for the purchase of a new police 23 cruiser and outfitting.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Councilmember Blunt. Any further discussion?
Yes.
Councilmember
Mayor,
Brown?
Yes, thank you. So, and in considering, what Chief just said to us, because with those, although there are warranties and everything, and with those hybrids or those electric cars, it is anywhere from $5,000 to $10,000 replacement that happens. That's continuous. And I am definitely wanting to be eco-friendly as well. But are we just asking for a proposal for the chief to go out and get us numbers? Or are we voting to say, okay, move forward with the hybrid and get us numbers? I'm trying.
It was the latter. It was the latter from Councilmember Rout's motion.
So we're not approving the funding then, or we just what do we approve? I'm sorry. What the motion? What are we approving in the motion? I just want to be clear.
Councilmember Rout, do you mind restating?
Yeah, I'm gonna restate the motion. Okay. I move that we adopt the purchase of a 2023 new vehicle and outfitting, hybrid new vehicle and outfitting, not to exceed $70,000.
Okay, well, they don't want a hybrid. So are we making them purchase a hybrid, or are we giving them that flexibility to whether it's a hybrid or not?
May I have the first right of refusal? Mayor James.
I'm sorry, go ahead, Councilman.
I had the first, yes. So I didn't hear Chief Collinson say that he did not want it. I heard Chief Collinson say that there are maybe some issues as it relates to batteries. But Chief Collinson, I don't want to speak for you. You speak for yourself.
So Chief, do you mind just let us know what it is you want? I know from your comments sharing the other side, I got the sense that you weren't necessarily in favor of it just based on prior experiences with the Ford Fusion, but could you let us know your preference?
No, Mayor, I'm definitely eco-friendly. So the hybrid vehicles they are definitely good for the fleet, you know, but I was just saying about the electric vehicles because I had experience with those as well. And we had our, you know, parking enforcement people drove those and they didn't even last, and they only work 8-hour shifts. So they had to come back in and dock them. You know, the more you drive the air conditioner in the summer, the heat, it just drew down on the battery. So I said I wasn't really in favor of a total electric vehicle for patrol, but like something like that can be for command staff or something. But I would move that, you know, I would hope that we would go with the hybrid. I am in favor of a hybrid.
Okay, thank you, Chief, for the clarification. Councilmember Brown, did that speak to your question? Okay, any other comments or questions before I call for the vote? All in favor, let it be known by the saying of aye.
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 Any nays? The ayes have it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Council.
Chief, would you like to take the police cameras? And I do want to just note it's 8:42, so if we could move swiftly with these remaining items. Appreciate the passion, but I'm going to try to move quickly.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. So the next item is the in-car cameras. And just like I said, again, keeping up with House Bill 600, the police accountability, we want to make sure that we are transparent with our community and with our government, that we are operating within the law, and cameras can clear officers, but as well, it can protect our residents. So I just want to make sure that we're clear. We're not starting a new contract. We already have Exxon as our vendor, so we're already on that platform. And you know, we pushed this back a couple of times, and we came up over a 5-year period of a savings of $75,365.40, and they won't bill us until November 2023 is when we get the first bill, and it'll be $49,938.05 per year. So I'm asking that the council would consider approving this tonight so that we can get back with the vendor and start having these in-car cameras installed in our vehicles so that we have clear transparency and accountability.
Thank you for that, Chief. And so with that, is there a motion to approve the Axon agreement for police cameras in cars to pair with our body cams?
That's so moved.
Moved by Councilmember Blunt. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilmember Rout. Any further discussion?
Yes, I'm sorry, Mayor. Really quick, where's the funding coming from?
So Chief Collington did mention the first bill will come in November 2023. So from the revenue from the police cameras, this would be the perfect opportunity to leverage that, since that funding can only be designated toward public safety expenses.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, let it be known by the saying of aye.
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 Any nays? The ayes have it. Thank you so much. And then Chief, still in public safety, we next have the police mobile camera trailers.
Yes, ma'am. So we're considering purchasing a Mobile Pro system camera, keeping in with if we, God forbid, we go to another shutdown, this camera tower is a portable surveillance camera, and we would like to have this down in our high activity areas. So in doing so, we were also connected with a vendor, contractor that had want to pay half of the quote of $59,748. At the end of the renovation in the apartment complex down in Autumn Woods, this camera will belong to the town of Bladensburg. They're willing to put this in writing, and they're ready to cut the check tomorrow once we get this approved. So the cost for the town will be $29,874 is what this will cost the town of Bladensburg to have a $60,000 state-of-the-art surveillance camera.
Great, thank you for that, Chief. So with that, is there a motion to approve the purchase of the police mobile camera trailers as proposed with Mobile Pro Systems and the quote provided?
I so moved. It's my gosh.
Okay, moved by Councilmember Blunt, seconded by Councilmember Rout. Any further discussion or questions for the chief?
The same question I have. I'm sorry, Mayor. What bucket is this taken out of? This isn't from the cameras.
So I'm hoping that the council would approve this through the ARPA funds, because this could be used for, again, God forbid that the town is shut down. So this could be used as a public announcement system as well.
Yeah. May I speak?
Member Rout, yes.
Yeah, I don't know if we're ready for this motion because I don't know if we have the money. Do we have the money in public safety, Mr. Tonelli?
Well, I was hoping, like what Chief said, that we could use the ARPA funding for this. This is a new item that, wasn't part of the original FY23 budget. So there's a couple things, could wait until we get the funding, from the speed cameras, but we could also use the ARPA funding, just like, as has been with other like public safety expenses, like the vehicles that we purchased, for instance, we put those under the ARPA funding as well. And that's what I've talked to my county and other municipalities. They're using the ARPA funding to go ahead and for their public safety departments to get them to where, they would like to be that they can't do on their own.
So Mr.
Hopefully that answered your question.
Or Chief, is there any room in the public safety budget where we could pull from existing line items to help us out here? Because we have the ARPA funds. There's no question on that. From the document, Mr. Tonelli, you shared, I think we've only spent about what, 1.2 million or so. So we still have a good ways to go there, but it's just, we are investing a lot in our public safety department, and I'm not saying that it's not warranted, but I'm just wondering if we can pull from something that's already in here, that whether it falls under software, contractual services or something, and then it could be replaced once the automated traffic enforcement dollars start rolling in.
It's a lot cheaper than, we're not buying a whole system. They're giving it to us once. That $29,000 is nothing, but that system that's going to be put out there means everything. I wish we can get one out here, but I'm just saying, I mean, we pull it from somewhere.
No, this is something I've been personally asking for over the last 2 years. So I definitely agree we need it. I just want to be fiscally responsive to what we currently have budgeted.
And Council, before we go back to those who have spoken already, Councilmember Brown, thank you for waiting. I want to get your feedback.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor. And the other part is the maintenance, but I guess the maintenance by that time it would be coming from the speed cameras.
So Chief, I'm just going through And I
And
know
I'm looking
October 22nd, I'm sorry,
yeah.
October of 2022. So month end as of October 31st.
I'm looking, I mean, it's just, you know, with 4 months gone and, you know, into the 5th month, I mean, it's, you know, it's kind of early to move anything, and just, you know, what we budget is what we think we're going to spend, especially with public safety. So I'd be cautious to move anything at this point right now. That's just my thought.
Yeah, no, and I do appreciate it. I just want to be thoughtful about it before we go ahead and tag ARPA again. Not that we can't. Mr. Charnovich, you had a comment?
Oh, thank you, Mayor. Mr. Tillett, I don't want to jump into your accounting zone necessarily, accounting versus budgeting, but I tend to think maybe you could pull it from ARPA right now, and then, for example, couldn't we then like budget this amount in the next fiscal year and then kind of replenish ARPA, or is that an accounting thing versus a budgetary thing? Because then next fiscal year is when the speed camera, is that when the speed camera revenue will hit? I guess it's soon, but does that question make sense, Mr. Tonelli?
Yeah, and I'm also looking at other departments as well. I mean, you know, we don't have, I mean, the town administrator position has been vacant, you know, so we can move funds from there, from the compensation category, from the town administration budget, a town administrator budget, because I mean, that's just a thought, you know, so we don't have to stick right within public safety. So that could be one option.
So Mr. Tonelli, and I don't want to speak for the council, but I think that's a good one simply because we'll be into 2023 and we did agree to hire a headhunter, but realistically that person probably won't start until February, because even once they're identified, they have to give notice. Sometimes it's 60 days. So we could be into February or March. So if the council is comfortable, I recommend we pull it from that line item, because I think that would be the easiest right now.
Okay. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Okay.
See, Vito, you found some.
So, Mayor, you're saying to pull it from that line item and then put it back?
No, just to, we would have to do, because it's across departments, so I think we do have to do a budget amendment to move it to public safety, and then it'll be paid out of public safety for the amount of, what was it, 2,900?
29,439 and 5 cents, I think.
Okay, but I'm saying, my question is, do we put it back? Is it put back?
No, because again, there's no town administrator salary to put it back toward. We haven't had anyone since the fiscal year began.
No, I'm saying, but when we get a town administrator, does it get put back?
No, so once the town administrator starts in February or March of next year, all of the savings from not paying a town administrator from July 1, 2022 up till that point, there's nothing to put it back to. We don't have a head count here to pay, so we wouldn't put it back.
Okay, all right.
So
yeah, I'm good. I got it.
Okay.
And Mayor, pull it up for you. So the correct motion would be to pull from town administrator compensation and put it into public safety capital outlay.
Okay.
Okay.
So with that in mind, would Councilmember Routen, is it better for her to amend her motion to note that the money would need to be pulled from that line item and put to capital outlay in public safety? Or I guess that'll be addressed once we have the budget amendment, I'm sorry.
We're not ready to.
Mr. Carter.
So yeah, you would need to I'm sorry, Councilman Ralph, did I interrupt you? Sorry about that.
I'm sorry. I think
sorry.
there's a delay on my side. You guys, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
For budgetary purposes, I feel like we have to do the budget amendment first. We're not ready for this motion as badly as I want it. I'm just, you know, just being transparent, because we have to do a budget. It would be easier if it was something in public safety that we can pull this 29 from and then credit ourselves when we did the budget ordinance, because we're adding more ARPA anyway. Mr. Tonelli, is there, I mean, because we still have to do 2 motions anyway, you know, like now, and then we have to do a budget amendment.
I get it. So Mr. Tonelli, would the proper protocol be to wait until December and have this motion withdrawn from the table for tonight?
I'm going to defer that one. I mean, you can do, I mean, you know, it's a public meet, you know, you're meeting as a public body, you can do an emergency budget amendment right now, or, you know, or you can, Rich, you can please fill in on this, but, you know, or we can have it written up and done at the next meeting, but that will still be an emergency budget amendment because it will be introduced and passed at the same meeting. Instead of going to 2 or 3, do we do 2 or 3 reads here? I'm sorry.
2 readings.
You know, okay. Yeah. So, but Chief has his hand up. I'd like
Chief.
to. Yeah.
So I just want to just kind of emphasize the fact that now I don't want to lose this opportunity with the contractor, because we're getting a $60,000 surveillance system for $30,000. So I don't want to lose the opportunity. You know, we have not spoken to him as to, you know, how long he's willing to wait, but they are, like I said, they're ready to write the check tomorrow, but I just don't want to lose this opportunity because we've been, as Councilmember Rout said, she's been asking for this and the council has been asking for this. And we know the incidents that we have down in you know, in certain areas of town. And this technology is something that can help us identify and close cases. So I just want us to, you know, I don't want to lose the opportunity, then have to come back and ask for a whole 60,000 when we're asking for 29,000.
Yeah, totally agree, Chief. So with that in mind, I'm sorry, Mr. Charnovich, your hand.
Thank you, Mayor. I was going to say that if it's the pleasure of the council, we can button this up in the same manner that we are buttoning up the Boswick House item that was approved for the buttress. So it was handled via a motion to memorialize it this evening, and then we're going to be doing a budgetary amendment at the December meeting. So in essence, it's the same concept. It's just a matter of where you would like to button that amount up from, whether it's ARPA, the town administrator, budget, wherever that is. We're handling that in the same way that we're doing the buttress amendment.
Yeah, thank you for that, Mr. Charnovich. That's why I was confused, because I wasn't understanding why we're differentiating in this situation. So I think we're on the same page in terms of pulling the money from the town administrator's salary because we don't have anyone in that position. We don't want to waste time on this and lose out on it being partially funded. So I think everyone's on the same page there. We'll have the vote and then follow it up with the budget amendment in December, but at least Chief can move forward as necessary so we don't miss out on this opportunity. So with that, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, let it be known by the saying of aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any nays? The ayes have it. Thank you so much. So that takes care of the police camera. In terms of the lobbyist service proposals, we did review those in the work session and there was agreement to continue with LA Perez services. So I'll call for a motion to continue and enter into an agreement with LA Perez for our lobbying services for the next 12 months.
So moved.
Second.
And any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, let it be known by the saying of aye.
Aye.
Any nays? The ayes have it. Thank you so much. The next item was a follow-up to our town attorney's participation in the work session with respect to the ordinance introduction for Comcast cable franchise agreement. Mr. Charnovich, we'll turn it over to you to read the ordinance.
Thank you, Mayor. And I will do my best to put my speed reading hat on, given the lateness of the hour.
Thank you. Sorry.
After my water, of course.
Redskin got 24.
We don't care about
I mean, come on.
they're the commanders.
All right, so here tonight is the first reading of this ordinance as drafted by our town attorney, Sue Ellen Ferguson. It's of the mayor and council of the town of Bladensburg granting renewal of the cable franchise to Comcast of Maryland, LLC, and authorizing a franchise agreement. Whereas pursuant to 5-201 of local government article, annotated code of Maryland, the town of Bladensburg, hereinafter the town has the power to pass such ordinances as it deems necessary to protect the health, safety, and welfare of the citizens of the municipality. Whereas the mayor and council have the power under 5-204D of the local government article, annotated code of Maryland, to grant non-exclusive cable franchises. And whereas the mayor and council have adopted a cable ordinance to govern cable franchises that are located within the town. And whereas the town entered into a cable franchise agreement with Comcast of Maryland, which ended in 2015, but has been extended during negotiation of the renewal of the franchise agreement. And whereas the mayor and council authorized the negotiation of the renewal of the franchise agreement with Comcast of Maryland, LLC, and as proposed agreement has been prepared and presented to the mayor and council. And whereas the mayor and council have determined that it is in the public interest to renew the cable franchise with Comcast of Maryland, LLC, within the corporate limits of the town, on condition that Comcast of Maryland enter into a franchise agreement in substantially the form as attached to this ordinance. Now therefore be it ordained and enacted by the mayor and council of the town of Bladensburg, the renewal of the non-exclusive right to construct and operate a cable television system along the public rights of way in the town of Bladensburg is hereby granted to Comcast of Maryland, LLC, subject to the provisions of Chapter A-125 of the Town Code, and a franchise agreement between the town and Comcast Cable, LLC, in a form substantially similar to that attached to this ordinance. The town of Bladensburg Town Council was authorized to endorse the franchise agreement on behalf of the town. Be it further ordained and enacted by the mayor and council of Bladensburg that if any provision of this ordinance or the application thereof to any person or circumstance is held invalid for any reason, such invalidity shall not affect the other provisions or any other applications of the ordinance which can be given effect without the invalid provision or applications, and to this end, all the provisions of this ordinance are hereby declared to be severable. Be it further ordained by the mayor and council of Bladensburg, this ordinance shall take effect 20 days from the date of its adoption, introduced by the mayor and council of the town of Bladensburg at a regular meeting on November 14th, 2022. And thereafter, this ordinance we prominently posted in the town hall and available for public inspection. And it'll be considered for adoption at the regular meeting on the 12th day of December 2022. I know I read that very fast. If anybody on this call ever wants to read over this ordinance, feel free to contact me, and I can get you this or the franchise agreement to review. It's a good cure for insomnia. So,
thank you, Mr. Charnovich.
Thank you.
And so we'll have this back on the December agenda as well for final reading.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Just briefly, municipal government works is upon us. It is November, and Councilmember Rout and myself are a part of the engagement committee for Maryland Municipal League. And so we're encouraging towns and cities across the state of Maryland to participate by highlighting areas of your community, areas of your staff and the services provided to the communities to make the residents aware of the work that's done. And so, Mr. Charnovich, you could work with maybe Mr. Jeffries to do some highlights. I may have sent an email over just with some suggestions, but just really so that we have opportunities where maybe he does a video interview of code enforcement or public works and we post that. We really want the community to highlight, to understand why we value these employees so much and highlight the work that they do and just better educate the community about the services that we provide. So that was the municipal works update for tonight. At this time, we'll move into staff reports, beginning with the treasurer's report. Mr. Tonelli.
I don't know how much detail you want me to go into. I have a written report. I mean, I could just throw a couple highlights out there real quickly. We received a fair amount of property tax income, both with real estate taxes that have come in, which means people are accelerating their payments here through the mortgage company, relaying those payments to the county and then transferred to us. But the main thing is our personal property tax, the business personal property tax. We're only 5 months into the year, and it looks like businesses are doing better or they're holding on more inventory, but their assessments have really increased. You can see where we were at this point last year, and we're only 5 months in, and we still have the 2023 tax assessments still to come in. So you're asking about like where the money's going to come from for this and that. I can just, we're only 5 months in. I can't tell you where it's going to come from yet, but signs are pointing towards these assessments are increasing, and the rest of it is really just about in line with budget. And I have a full narrative up here with all the company schedules and everything. If anybody has any questions, I'll pass on to the next person.
Thank you, Mr. Tonelli. And next, we'll hear from Public Safety and Code Enforcement.
Good afternoon, Mayor, Council, colleagues, and community. May I'll be real quick this time, in light of the time that has passed. I just want to make a couple announcements that the month of October was domestic violence and suicide. I'm sorry, and domestic violence and breast cancer awareness month. But also, I just want to shed light that those of you that don't know, we had 3 officers involved in a traumatic incident. And as a chief, it bothers me, and I'm always concerned about the health and wellness of our officers. So on October the 28th was National First Responders Day, and we recognize the officers for the hard work that they do every day, serving on the front lines and behind the scenes. But I also want to share with the council and the community that we also lost 2 officers to suicide, and one was a very young officer, just got cut off of field training 3 weeks. He worked his shift, he went home, and unfortunately committed suicide, 26 years old. So I just want to, keep our officers, ask the community and our council, keep our officers, first responders in your daily prayers. Suicides among officers have jumped up 55% since 2020. And on average, last year, there were 632 officers in this country that committed suicide. So we don't know that the stress and the pressures that they internalize. And again, as I want to reiterate, we have 3 officers now, and I check on them daily to make sure that they are in the right space. And I'm asking the council to also in the community also keep all of our employees and staff in your daily prayers. And I'll leave my report there. I just want to make one other announcement that we had Officer Tanksley, Corporal Tanksley, graduate from the DARE program. I wanted to start the DARE program back up, going into our school, and he graduated. And not only did he graduate, he exceeded in the class, and he was a class spokesman for his class. So I just want to say congratulations to him. for a job well done. And I'll leave it there, and I'll let Sean do his, Mr. Reinhardt do his report.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, residents at home. Again, I'm going to be very brief. If you want to read my report, it's attached to the public safety report. I just want to give out a couple reminders. Recently, we did do a time change. Please check the batteries in your smoke detectors and check the batteries in your CO detectors. Twice a year, you should be changing your batteries. I know yesterday evening we had a fire in one of our apartment complexes. Again, fortunately, it's very good that everybody got out. I believe they were working smoke detectors, but again, I want to remind you, please change your batteries. That little small thing in your house is a true lifesaver, especially in the middle of the night. I also want to set up a reminder that since the weather is starting to get colder outside, please check on your neighbors. Try not to heat your homes with candles or anything. Again, that's a huge fire hazard. That's for especially apartment complexes and single family homes. We just want everybody to be safe and make sure everybody takes care. If anybody has any questions, you can feel free to reach out to code enforcement. We can point you in the right direction to even put you in contact with the fire department if you do need a smoke detector. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief, and thank you, Code Enforcement Officer Reinhardt. We'll move along to the Town Clerk and Interim Town Administrator report.
Thank you, Mayor. I had submitted a written report earlier today to everyone. In the interest of time, I don't need to go over all of that since we're late in the evening. But I would like to wish Mayor, Council, and all the residents on the call this evening a very happy and blessed upcoming Thanksgiving holiday.
Thank you so much, Mr. Charnovich. And we do also have the written report for Public Works, and I'm sure that's posted online. Would the council like to proceed with your reports, starting with Councilmember Blunt, or do you want to forego?
Mayor, excuse me for a second. I think
Sure.
Mr. Hall is on the line for Public Works, isn't he?
No, he's not there. Oh, wait,
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I see the phone that says Mr. Hall.
Mr. Hall, I apologize. I didn't even see your name there. I was looking for the 792 number and skipped right past you. Sorry about that.
Okay, yes, ma'am, Mayor. I'm here, but I could be very brief. As we all know, we was talking about 57th Avenue. We've been very active in it, trying to make sure everything is right for the spring, and also we've been working hardly with Officer Harris in installing speed camera signs on Annapolis Road, Kenilworth Avenue, and also throughout the town. And also our leaf machine vacuums will start today and will be running through January the 6th of 2023. And basically that's about everything that we've done. The roof at the Bostwick house, the little apartment roof, has been completed. I know we've been going back and forth with trying to get the roof completed, but it has been completed and reshingled. And also, due to the cold weather coming up, I know we don't want to talk about it right at the moment, but Public Works is setting up 2 units due to the cold weather and any participation that may come along before we think of it. And that concludes my report.
Thank you so much, Mr. Hall. I felt like a kid when they go to Disneyland. When I saw the leaf machine going by, I just froze and was smiling like, oh my gosh. I saw Eric walking along the sidewalk as it was driving by. I'm so glad to see you guys out there with the tons of leaves that are out in the community, and we truly appreciate all your help. At this time, we'll proceed with Mayor and Council reports, beginning with Councilmember Blunt.
I just have 2 things. I just want the constituents to know, if you have an EBT card, SNAP food stamp card, please change your PIN. Please change your PIN. Food stamps are being stolen and they're not replacing food stamps. So again, please change your PIN. There is information online about what's going on with the PINs. I don't know how they're doing it, but they are stealing food stamps. And 5 of my residents food stamps were stolen from someone in New York, Pennsylvania. Don't know how, but please change your PIN. And again, I want to hope to see you at the senior gala on December the 8th. Seniors, if you know a senior, please let them know that we have our first senior holiday gala at the Bladensburg Rec Center on December the 8th. More information will be coming to you. If you know any residents that's in Bladensburg that's 100 years old, please call the town of Bladensburg so that we'll know who they are, so they can be honored as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Councilmember Blunt. Councilmember Rout.
Good evening. I would like to forgo my report in the interest of time. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Rout. Councilmember Brown.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm going to forego my report as well, but I would like to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving. And also, I think you'll probably talk about the Thanksgiving giveaway that's coming up. And we will continue to keep all families and our officers and staff and residents in prayer. So thank you so very much for that. That's all.
Thank you, Councilmember Brown. Councilmember McBride.
In the interest of time, I'm going to forego my report. And everyone, please have a safe and happy Thanksgiving. Love on your families while you can, and love on your friends. Check on your neighbors.
Thank you, Councilmember McBride. I'll be very quick. I'll try and do this in 30 seconds. First, I want to thank every single person on this call who helped us with our 280th anniversary celebration. It was incredible. And from those who participated in the planning committee, we so appreciate all your help. To those who are on staff who really stepped up and led efforts, including Mr. Ray Jeffries, who led the way as our project manager. You all did a wonderful job, and the event was absolutely beautiful. So a heartfelt thank you for all you did to make it successful. Really briefly, truancy at Bladensburg High School continues to be a problem. So we're still continuing to meet and address those challenges, working with the school, Chief Collington, Park Police, the community center. So we'll keep pushing on it. Things are getting better on one hand, but you know, kids, sometimes you shut down one thing and they find another thing to get into. So we're just going to keep up our efforts. I did want to make everyone aware that some of us attended the fall MML conference, and they did announce the board approved 2023 legislative session priorities. The single priority for this next session, which is to ensure municipalities have the option of creating their own police accountability boards and charging committees. That is critical, especially given we live in Prince George's County and there are 27 different municipalities. And so it's important that we have a voice in those charging committees and police accountability boards. The other two items that were approved as strategic initiatives were expanding municipal revenue sources, and then a focus on communication, specifically the intersections of transparency, notification, and resident privacy. So those two items will be strategic initiatives. My written report will be provided. I'll send that in the morning to the staff. I just want to read it over one more time before I send it to you guys, but definitely just wanted to take this time to again express how grateful I am to be a part of your team, knowing that we're celebrating 280 years of existence as a town, and then also to echo the sentiment that has been expressed previously, which is to have a very safe and happy Thanksgiving holiday. And please spread the word about November 19th, the town's Thanksgiving basket giveaway from 12 p.m. to 2 p.m. at Bladensburg High School. Go to our Facebook page to register, or go to the town website to register, or call town hall, but we need our residents to sign up so that they can receive the baskets. And that completes my report for tonight. We've come to the end of the agenda. Parting is so difficult, I know, but I'll now call for a motion to adjourn.
So
moved by Councilmember Rout, who gave me the side eye.
We ready.
Is there a second?
A second.
Seconded by Councilmember Blunt. Any further discussion?
Yeah, wait a minute, Mayor. I'm sorry.
Good night.
And I'll now call for the vote. All in favor, let it be known by the saying of aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it. Love y'all. Good night.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
I'm
Bye,
hungry.
everybody. Yeah.
Time.
Good night, all.
Good night, John. Bye, Mr. Rich.